Greetings and welcome to my messy desk. It's been a little while. I've been working on making some changes and improvements, hopefully improvements. I'm wearing a headset. Hopefully this takes care of the audio issues. Lighting, I don't know what we're working on. Now the biggest problem I've been having is my cameras. Autofocus has been a pain. I'm going to play with some stuff today and see if we can't work past that. Obviously I've been working on some clay. Oh, that's great. Make my messy desk messier. Apologize. Should have cleaned this already. Or at least move this stuff out of the way. So, we are. Okay, that's for that. Alright. So, obviously, we're covering some firearm things today. For those that don't know, I have a broad range of interests, including firearms and weapon history and etc., etc. I love the physics, the mechanics, the intrinsics. I'm a formerly certified gunsmith and armorer. I have good knowledge base, and it's a subject that interests me, which is why I'm covering this. Obviously, the title to this video should cover what we're covering today. Today we're covering. I want to cover some broad basics for those that don't know anything, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, although I'll be happy to. If there's something you want me to go into detail on, let me know, and I will happily branch into that detail. So today, I wanted to have these out just to show the general difference between revolvers and pistols, also known as self-loading pistols, self-loading firearms. It's a FEG PA-63. It's a little subcompact Hungarian piece. It's Hungary's version of the Walter PPK line of sub-pistol, chambered in 9 Makarov. This is a pretty famous firearm. You see this in a lot of movies. The P226. Mine has been through quite a bit, been modified quite a bit. Got the compensator up top. Something I'd like to point out. I don't know why. Is my angle off here? Anyway, I guess I just got too much crowding my desk. Something I want to point out about this gun is movie tropes that aggravate me. It's the man, so many movies off the top of my head. Casino Royale, Taken, and I just had it in my head and I just lost it. Was it Ronin? Taken, Casino Royale. Oh, and the Firstborn Identity. Born Identity. A Firstborn movie. Where there's a scene where this bad guy pulls out a hidden pistol from somewhere and clicks it or threatens the good guy, and then the good guy throws out a handful of bullets or drops them one by one. This firearm right now weighs about 2.8 pounds. This is with a full magazine of real live ammo. So you can see it's the loading indicator shows all 18 rounds, plus one in the chamber. If this didn't have any rounds in it, it would weigh a third. It would lose a third of its weight. This right here weighs about almost 0.8 pounds. That's a third of its weight. You're gonna notice that when you pick it up. I'm sorry, but that's just a thing, and it aggravates me. They really need to stop doing that. Movies need to stop doing that. All right. So why we're here? We're here to discuss what happened in the Crow and Rust. I'm going to go over some quick basics, what things are, how things are supposed to be. At this point, I believe the armorer, the trials for the armorer have completed. She's been sentenced to involuntary manslaughter, and I believe the maximum sentence, I think it's in New Mexico. I'm trying to remember her name. She's got a hyphenated last name. I apologize for not getting the names. And there were some other people that have already pled out guilty and are serving community service or whatever it is they're doing for their committal to the horrible tragedy that happened on the set of Rust. The armorer was sentenced to 18 months, which I believe is the maximum for involuntary manslaughter in the state of New Mexico. The judge was definitely cracked down on her plans on plans on basically she said she's going to spend the rest of her career making sure this woman finds remorse. Is what I had communicated to me. There are still trials pending, I think, or going on. I think last I read, Alec Baldwin is in his second set of trials. In my opinion, he should be held responsible for a manslaughter charge. Obviously, he's not as responsible as the armorer, but he holds a responsibility, and he made the mistake of going on a press tour talking about how he didn't pull the trigger. And I will cover that when we get to it. This is the style of gun this is an Old West style gun that would have been used in that movie that Alec would have been handling. The reason I showed the differences were just to define the difference between a revolver and an automatic pistol. There are blends of feeding systems that combine both. They're extremely rare guns. You're not likely, if you see one, it'll probably be modified for use in Star Wars or something to look more like a ray gun. So anyway, that's once again another subject. What I want to cover today is our components. These are revolvers. They are called revolvers because the cylinder chambers here revolve. As you fire a round, it revolves to automatically load the next round. They aren't considered semi-automatic because it's mechanical, although there are mechanics involved in semi-automatic pistols, but this is the terminology that we utilize. Some other terminology, the cowboy guns, which is this one, which is where we'll be going over second, is known as, its action is single action only. This gun would be a double action over single action, except that it was modified by the Air Force for their security weapons for a short time. This is my understanding. I don't know this is as a procedural documented thing, but my understanding is for a while they had their security revolvers modified for double action only. And I will show you that in just a second. But what I wanted to cover first are your ammunitions. These are a variety of munitions, and I wanted to show them, and I'll see if we can't get that auto to work. Now, this is the trick I was going to try to use to see. It might work. Try it with my other hands here. I figured if I blacked out some of the background, it might help the autofocus. It does not appear to be helping too much. I might just override. I don't know. That's not too bad. But anyway, this is a 45 ACP. The ACP stands for Automatic Colt Pistol, which we don't have up here. This is an automatic. This is a 45 Colt, sometimes referred to. Let's see if I can try. Am I trying to do too many things at once here? Let's go over them. There we go. We get the manual focus in there. Look at that. Maybe. There. Look at that. Hornady 45 Colt. You see, this is a full round, and this is what I wanted to show. This is a full round, and if I can get the focus to chamber level right here. Now, there are four parts to your bullet. You have, pull it a little further away. There we go. The bullet part of this cartridge is the front part. This is the bullet. This is what comes out of the gun super fast, several times the speed of sound depending on the load and the heaviness of the bullet and the amount of powder in it. Um, so bullet, case, and back here, this little different colored piece of metal is called the primer. This is what the hammer on the gun hits, the hammer or striker pin, or firing pin would be the generic term to use. This hits, detonates, like ignites the powder inside the casing, and that's what causes the explosion that launches the barrel down, that launches the bullet down the barrel. All right, these are the parts of a real live bullet. A live bullet that should not be on an active set unless you. Not going to go into too much detail. You can have an active set with live ammo. Um, they do set up sets. Sometimes they duplicate them. Sometimes they film them separately. Sometimes they just want to show the damage that guns really do. You'll have a duplicated back bar or the live back bar in a saloon, and you will show it getting shot up by real bullets. They sometimes do it with squibs and micro explosives, effects explosives, etc., etc. But more often than not, excuse me, they're firing really real bullets. They'll do this with cars. They'll shoot up cars and trucks, and they will use live ammo to show the effects of live ammo in action films. It's been done, and to be honest, it's the best way to do it. However, you want to make this on a separate set where there is nobody. Everybody. Sometimes they build duplicate sets inside of gun ranges to meet the insurance requirements. But anyway, I digress. My point here is I'm going over the bullet. So we've discussed the parts of the bullet, and here I'm going to lay this out. I don't have separated primers or even casings at this point. Actually, I could pull one of these down. I just want to show the difference between. Now, this is a bullet. This is a Makarov round. It's what they call a total metal jacket. You can see there's copper on the back of it. Full metal jacket is copper on everything except the back of it. Total metal jacket is what this is. This is the bullet out of a round or a cartridge that looks like this. Now it's a different. Now you can see the bullet on this one looks very different. I believe this is a bimetal bullet, which is a whole separate conversation in and of itself. You often find bimetal bullets on cheap Eastern European ammunition, often steel cased ammunition. The bullet is often steel jacketed, which means it's the outer bullet is steel, the inside of the bullet is lead. That's typically when you're looking at a bullet like the total metal jacket. This is copper plated with a lead core. They use lead because it's heavy and therefore hits harder. And once again, whole separate conversation. You will have bullets like this, the hollow point, where it's copper jacketed, so it goes down the barrel smoothly without tearing it up, but then has a hole or a hollow put into it so it spreads out upon impact to do more damage to the target. All right, I want to show you. This is full live round. Primer, case, bullet, no indicator. There's no hole. There's no icon or indicator. Now, I have used dummy rounds that look exactly like real rounds, and those are dangerous to use, and I've only used them I would only use them in extremely rare circumstances. You want to be able to separate your ammo and know your ammo. I'm going to show you some examples here of dummy rounds and blanks. This one right here I just showed you, this is a 44 Special. You can tell it's a dummy round because it doesn't have a primer. As you can see, that's just a hole. There's no primer, and therefore there's no powder in there. This is just a bullet and a shell. This is not dangerous, and this is as dangerous as a tin can. Now, the way you can identify it, because there's no primer. This is one of the common ways you would identify. Another common way would be a hole drilled in the side. This is commonly used so that they can show the back end and the front end, and as long as the bullets are handled properly, you won't be able to see on film that it's a dummy round. Now, Let's see what else do we have. This is a 10 auto, also no primer. This is a dummy round. These are my 38 dummy rounds. I have 45 ACP dummy rounds, but I can't seem to cross them. I think they're probably locked up in storage still. These are 38 dummy rounds, and these are different. These you will notice how it looks. It looks like a real live round. I don't know if I need to pull my auto up, my focus here, but you will. Let me pull the focus up. And there we go. You'll see that the primer's in there, but it has a little notch pounded in it. This is a dummy round that was constructed out of a spent shell, but they didn't remove the primer. So you know that that's a deactivated primer. Even if it had powder in it, you wouldn't be able to ignite it. It's sealed. There's no hole on the side. There's no indicator mark. It's got a bullet up front. Looks like a cowboy load. Cowboy loads are often just raw lead with some varnish on them. Could be a bimetal, which I doubt for a 38 special, that is what this is. So this is another way to identify a dummy round. Okay, blanks. All right, let's look at blanks. I have more blanks. I don't know. They might also be in storage. I need to go through and inventory stuff. Let's see if we can get this. I just pulled the focus down. There we are. This is a blank for a 22. As you can see, you can't even see the 22 is a rimfire, so that's going to be a whole other conversation. But as you can see, there is no bullet. The shell is crimped down in front, and there is usually little to nothing there. There are different types of blanks. There are the balloon poppers that they use at Western shows. Here's a larger blank, looks closer to a 9. This is a 38 special blank, which it does say 38 special, even though the casing looks much shorter than a 38, but yeah, so you can see pinch down there. Now, what this is a bullet without a bullet. The shell is crimped down, so there's nothing to blow out. You can have smoked or smokeless. Like I said, they will do wax loads or paper wadding loads to pop balloons and whatnot, and this does have a force coming out of it. So there was, I believe people have killed themselves by shooting themselves straight in the head with a blank firearm. That's unfortunately a thing that happens because people are idiots. But this is a real live primer with powder in front of it, and this is ready. I could put this in my 38 and go out and fire it, and it would sound. And I believe this is a full load. Well, I have my label right here. What do I have? Nope, these are half smoked. So these will have. This is a half load, and it's a smoked load, so it'll actually create a good bit of smoke. When it's some directors don't like too much smoke in their rounds, so they'll go smokeless or low smoke. They can configure the powder for different. Put a little more magnesium in, which slows down the reaction a bit more, but then you have bigger muzzle flash. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with blanks. Often you'll find them in quarter, half, 3/4, and full loads. They rarely use full loads unless they need to, because for semi-automatic pistols that use blanks, the lighter the load, the more you have to modify the pistol to run the mechanics of the automatic fire, the blowback / recoil / gas system, depending on what type of system it uses for its automatic mechanics. Anyway, this is a 38 blank, and I think have we covered it? Primer, case, bullet. This is a blank. This is a dummy. So this is a dummy round and a blank round for 38. Now, we're talking about the 38. I don't have. I believe on the Crow it was a 44. I want to say a Colt. It's probably a Colt Python or Smith and Wesson 629 or something like that in 44 Magnum. My apologies for not getting the focus back here. Now, I don't have a 44 Magnum. I do have a 38. This is my Smith and Wesson Model 15 in 38 Special. Now, we're going to unload that. And alrighty, so we are now unloaded. These are all live rounds. These are real live bullets. You see, real primer, no holes. These are actually special loads with tungsten powder core, which are pretty horrific rounds. Okay, now these would generally, once again, on a set wouldn't have live ammo. On a action set, I should say, actionable set, or whatever type of label you want to apply to your set where you're not running live ammunition, there is no live ammunition. This is a YouTube video in my shop where my guns aren't useless if they aren't loaded with real ammo, so I keep them loaded with real ammo. If this was a video on a workbench on a set, if I was the armorer for a movie, you would not see any live ammo here. It's simply the rule. There would be no live ammo anywhere near the set if I had any say or control over it. So, 38. Just took my live ammo out. Now, what happened to Brandon Lee? Brandon Lee was shot by a horrible accident that should have been prevented. As well, that's why we call them accidents, because if we had done a better job, it wouldn't have happened. What happened with Brandon Lee was they had a revolver, similar in function to this, is a different caliber, definitely a larger frame, big chrome monstrosity. They like bigger guns in the movies, especially for the bad guys. And what they will do and this is the thing with revolvers. When you have a revolver and you're looking at it down the camera angle, see this? You can tell that revolver is loaded because you can see the rounds. See that? You see those rounds in there. You know this is a loaded revolver. This, I'll show it when I reload it. But see this? Those are empty holes. You can see those are empty holes, and you can see ain't nothing in there. And also, I'll just show you the revolving. This is why it's called a revolver. If you didn't know, now you know. It's a revolver because it revolves. Alrighty. So, this is what happens. Or this is roughly what happened on the Crow. You took dummy rounds, loaded up the gun. Should have. Uh-oh. You know what? That's odd. Well, I think the guy ordered my dummy rounds. These are 38 specials. But I'm seeing here, I'm not going to be able to preload this the way I should. Anyway, I should be able to, well, I can already see what happened here. The person who loaded these, I don't know if you can see it's fluting out here because this bullet is larger than a 38 special bullet. Not sure what they did. It's almost like they loaded a Makarov bullet in it. It's the dimensions have to be exact. Otherwise, you can't even get the bullet in the cylinder. See that? Can't even load it in the cylinder. So these rounds, try to load them in my gun for demonstration, and I don't know what bullets they used here. Yep, obviously need to talk to my man about what kind of dummy rounds he sent me. So, anyway, as I showed you here, you can imagine seeing it here. I can put well, unfortunately, my live rounds are black, so you'd have a hard time seeing them. But if this was loaded with the dummy rounds, you would and should be able to see. None of these are going to fit right, are they? Sorry, this is really aggravating, but I'm going to try to finish this video anyway. I have nothing that'll fit. That's 44. Let's see, what do we have here? 9. 38. This is a 38 short. Once again, this is a live ammo, and it's not a 38 special. That's a Makarov, I'm pretty certain. Gets close. So 9mm. 38 is technically a 9mm. 30. What is this? Oh, here's an odd looking 30 carbine. This is a 38 cowboy load. Alright. Well, that's. There we go. Alright. 38 cowboy load. Loads in there. That is. It is a 38 special. And just wanted to show it so you can see. If you look down the barrel, or look down the cylinder there, see how you can see the bullet? That's the whole point of having the dummy rounds in there. Also, they'll sometimes want the dummy rounds in place to show the bad guy loading them, or they'll just have some empties lying around, and they'll want to make sure they're the right type. Blah blah blah. Boy, I got lots of different ammo here. What is this? This is a Colt Western, a 28 long Colt. This is a 28 caliber bullet. I don't know that I've ever even heard of that. Definitely fits a 38, but anyway, or the 38 special. It's a little loose. Definitely not made to be fired out of that gun. Alrighty, so what is that? Well, alright, sorry about that. So what are we doing next? We're going to go over what happened. So they loaded their 38s in the cylinders. And what happened is one of the bullets that they loaded, because they generally hand load these, which you would think would be more better done than some machine loaded stuff, but machines can be more precise and more accurate. And I'm going to see if I can pull one of these rounds out. I don't know what these things are made out of. And since they put the wrong cylinder in, odds are going to be I'm not going to be able to pull that out, because they definitely put a bullet that is too wide for that cartridge. That is aggravating. Anyway, so what happened on the set of the Crow was they did their loads, they took their shots, showing him looking down the gun so he could see the bullets in the chamber. And what happened was one of the bullets came loose. One of the bullets came loose from the case and got lodged somewhere in the gun. I'm assuming in the cylinder. See if we can push this Makarov. And now I'm going to need to use one of my clay tools here to. I don't think that's. Nope. I don't have a 38 raw bullet handy. See, this is where. Oh. Well, that's odd. Seems this bullet has a little bit of a fray on it. I know I have a whole box. I know I have a whole box in the other room, and I could probably just slide one down to show that this is what happens on live TV. All right, let's see if we can take that. There's a little bit of a flare coming off the copper jacket there. Um, I don't know why they don't do. Sorry, my brain goes all over the place. I don't know why they don't do zinc jacketed bullets or just solid zinc bullets. It'd be so much cheaper and easier and less wear and tear on the barrels. Alrighty, so I'm trying to emulate. I'm gonna see if I can get this. Now, see, I knew the diameter would work. So this is what happened in theory. You have your bullet, which nestles right up the bullet, as you can see. Hopefully folks can see this. Here's a bullet that we're pretending fell out of a dummy shell. So the bullet just fell out, or the bullet was in the shell. The shell jammed it in there, and it got stuck in the preload, and so or stuck in the chamber here. Now we load it. You can look in there. Oops, and you don't see it because the bullet's now sliding back here. But now what happens, now where this becomes dangerous, is if we were to take this 38 blank, this is a 38 special blank. If we load this right here, well, if we can load it, this is where it would have had to have been jammed in there pretty good, and I'm not gonna jam that bullet into my into the sleeve because it's not the right bullet for this gun. Otherwise, it wouldn't be jammed or wouldn't be stopped. But anyway, when you put this blank behind man, all thumbs today. You put this blank behind this bullet, you have made an improvised bullet. And this is what killed Brandon Lee. There was a bullet in there. They loaded it. They shot the scene. I don't mean that to be a pun. That's what they call it. They shoot scenes. And Brandon got shot. And of course, no one was prepared for that. And my understanding was his initial injuries, if he had gotten to the hospital on time or treated properly by a medic, he probably could have survived. But everyone panicked, and we're trying to figure out what was going on, what happened, because I mean, when you spend day after day, week after week, fake shooting people, the odds of someone getting shot not realistic. So the idea of someone really getting shot wasn't on their minds, and apparently it took them longer to get him the medical assistance he needed, and he didn't make it. That, or I'm not remembering the story correctly, and his injuries were simply beyond medical recovery. So anyway, that's what happened to Brandon Lee. Horrible accident. Obviously, the armorer should have been paying attention, noticing a shell coming out of a gun without a bullet in it, or whatever. However that instance happened. I mean, you check your cylinders. You check your cylinders when you load those blanks. You're loading them one by one. I get you're stressed, you're tired, you're working 14-hour shifts. And this is why safety is important. And this is why you have redundancies in safety. This is why we have regulatory stuff. There's a lot that happened on Rust that shouldn't have happened. As I understand insurance requirements, if you're going to have a gun pointed at somebody, not only do you want to verify that it's not loaded, generally it shouldn't even be able to fire real live ammo. He should have had a duplicate gun or modified gun, and this is the problem with using revolvers, because they want to see that it's that it's at least looks loaded. And so now We're switching over to the rust gun. It's my Smith & Wesson, thank you very much. And now to Colt. This is a replica of the Colt Peacemaker, also known as the M1873, the Colt Single Action Army, the SAA. I'm sure it's got more names that aren't occurring to me right now. It's the M1873 was its military designation. This was the military sidearm for the United States in the late 19th century. It's one of the guns that won the West. Um, anyway, very famous. There are a lot of others not as famous. The Schofield, by Smith & Wesson, which was preferred by some folks like Jesse James preferred it because it was reloaded faster. It had a very unique reload system where it broke open and ejected all of its shells. This gun, when it was first came out, cartridge rounds were not really a thing yet, mostly because Smith & Wesson was sitting on the patent. But in a couple years later, in the 1870s, mid 1870s, that's when cartridge rounds became the standard, and that's kind of when the Old West blew up as far as the technology we know it for. This gun uses a loading gate. This is the loading gate, and we have to pull it back here. Now, I'm not going to press the trigger, but I can press the trigger right now and nothing's going to happen. This is loading mode. This is the second gauge for this hammer. What it does is it puts the revolver into alignment so that I can unload each round as I have to do. Now that round is empty because I load my Colt, I load this, like I said, it's a reproduction. This is Cimarron Arms. I load this in what they call cowboy load, where you only load 5 loads. You leave the chamber up top empty, so you don't accidentally shoot yourself. I can go into that. This is already a long video, so I'm going to skip that. I want to get into what happened at Rust. Well, really, what happened at Rust is they screwed up and gave her a live round. And gave the actor Alec Baldwin, a pistol loaded with a live round. Now, the one thing I want to show before I close this up is I don't have 45 blanks here, which is fine. I don't have the dummy rounds either, so I can't show you what they look like with the dummy rounds, but you've seen it with live rounds. I want to show you a problem with after the incident happened. Alec Baldwin went on a press tour where he talked about he just was proclaiming to the world that he didn't pull the trigger. He didn't pull the trigger. Well, this isn't a gun where you necessarily have to pull the trigger, so to say. And this is conjecture. I have read the reports from the FBI. They tested his gun to the point of breaking it. In fact, they purposely broke it to make it, to demonstrate what it would take to make the gun do what Mr. Baldwin and others were testifying it might have done. This gun, in order to fire, you cannot fire this gun. Now that it's empty, I will demonstrate a little bit. Generally, you don't touch the trigger. That's standard trigger control. You never point a gun at anywhere where anybody can get hurt. You did just see me unload it. I'll even double check. Second point. I'm not going to do a full fire. Pulling the hammer does nothing. It can't do anything until you have that hammer all the way in the back. And this is where what they call single action comes into play. My double action, which I'm not going to demonstrate, but the double action, you can't lock the hammer back. See, this hammer does not lock back into place. It always falls down. In order to fire this gun, you have to pull the trigger, and it pulls the trigger, it pulls the hammer back, and then releases it. That's double action only because of the two actions. This is single action only. This can only be fired if you pull the hammer all the way back. It's supposed to be four clicks. This is the hammer safety click. This is the load release. Locks the hammer, unlocks the cylinder. You then have the half. You then have the three-quarter cock, or the L, and then you have the T. So those are the four clicks you're supposed to hear. COLT. Um, the the L does not lock it into place. That's just locking the cylinder into place, and then that final one activates the trigger. So right now I can pull the trigger. This is in the full back position. COLT. This is in the full back position. If I had a round in here and I pulled that trigger, it would fire. Now, the only other way this could fire without me cocking it all the way back and then pulling that trigger is if you have your finger on the trigger. Now, for anybody that's seen classic westerns, you have to have at some point seen somebody fan the gun. They fan the gun. Fanning the gun is where they, I don't know if I can demonstrate it here, is where they keep their finger on the trigger, and then they just keep doing this with the hammer. And so they can quickly just bang, 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 bang. That's as close to auto fire as you can get with this gun. And that is the only explanation to Mr. Baldwin saying that he didn't pull the trigger, is that he had his finger on the trigger and pulled the hammer all the way back. And when he released it, that's what fired the gun. And if he was hammer firing, he still had his finger on the trigger. He was actively activating the gun by its design. It worked the way it was supposed to work. And unfortunately, people got hurt and died. It's a horrific tragedy. Yes, it was an accident, and yes, it could have been prevented. Hopefully, it never happens again. Unfortunately, we have accidents. Accidents happen on sets. Given what they do on movie sets, and we've made a lot of progress in safety and insurance standards. I mean, there have been horrific helicopter accidents that have killed. Uh, I'm trying to remember. There were a couple helicopter accidents. There was one in particular that killed more people than all firearm accidents on sets, on movie and TV combined. Um, Always horrible tragedies. Loss of life is always a horrible thing. But I just wanted to cover this for folks. Hopefully, this answers some questions. This is an extremely long video. I apologize for that and my technical difficulties. Hopefully, this will come out because hopefully you can see it and people can hear it. If you have any questions, you want to hear or see any more, I have a couple ideas for some multi-part videos that I might have coming out shortly. I'll have to do some editing with those because they're going to be, well, they won't be multi-part, but, well, I don't think they will. But I will have to edit them together as opposed to a single sit-through, which is my preference. So anyway, thank you again. See you next time.